Could a mysterious ancient priesthood lie behind what's taking place in our culture, on our television sets, on TikTok, in our children's classrooms? This is Jonathan Cahn. In The Return of the Gods, the latest book I've written, it opens up this mystery, reveals it in full. We're going to get a taste of it. What is happening right now? Why is it happening? What's transforming us? What's touching your life? And where is it going? What's the future? And what do you need to know? What do you need to do to prevail? The Return of the Gods, I speak of the ancient spirits, principalities that have returned from ancient times into our culture. One of them is called the Enchantress, the goddess of sexuality, but she's also known as the Transformer. She says she turns a man into a woman into a man. I found an ancient inscription, I put it in The Return of the Gods. It says she dresses men up as women, she dresses women up as men. Now, she had a mysterious priesthood. They were called back then the Asinu, the Kalu, and the Gala. They were men who walked around in her temple. They were dressed up as women. They acted as women. They spoke, some of them in women's pitch. So what would we expect if she returned? We would expect to see the beginning of this phenomenon. We would expect to see the beginning of men dressing up as women and women dressing up as men. If you see this happening, you're seeing the return of her priesthood and the return of the goddess herself, the spirit herself, taking possession of culture. And if you see it celebrated, then you're seeing it even more so. You see, because in ancient times, in pagan times, this was part of pagan times. It hasn't been. And it was celebrated. But you haven't seen it. But the fact, if you're seeing it now, it means we are returning to pagan times. And returning, the gods have returned, and this principality has returned and is taking possession of our culture again. We're watching the end of a Christian civilization and the return of a pagan one and of the spirits. You see, back then, androgyny was everywhere. This is the goddess of androgyny, of male and female together. So back then, she had her priests. Today, they would be called cross-dressers or drag queens. And more. This is her priesthood. Now remember, Messiah gave a warning. He said, when the spirit comes back into a man who was possessed and delivered, if they return to the man and he gets repossessed, it's going to be worse than before. Well, in pagan times, the goddess, was seeking to possess a priesthood. But now, coming back, it's worse. She's seeking to possess an entire generation. She's seeking to confuse an entire generation of children. That's why they are the focal point. To confuse, to blend children. You see, when you turn away from God, this is what happens. There's the only options have ever been is God or paganism. There's no in between. And so back then we could see it was going to happen. It's happening now. That's why it's happening. Now you know. And this is just a taste of the mystery that's revealed in full in the Return of the Gods. You're going to see it with crystal clarity and you're going to say, yes, now I see it. It's like, wow. And where it's going. What's the future and what do you need to know to survive and prevail? The Return of the Gods is available everywhere, wherever there are books, for you to get and to get for those people in your life who need to know it. Next time, the message will be the secret behind what's happening to our nation, to our children. It's going to explain everything. It's going to be called The Dance of the Transitioned. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it. This is Jonathan Cahn. I'll see you next time with The Dance of the Transitioned. Their hormones affected their life just as it's happening now. And I found an ancient inscription, I put it in the book, where it describes the transitioned men dancing before the goddess. And they're dancing with scalpels.